So let's talk about stacking for a minute. There are many ways that we can stack our images that we collect off of the Seestar. And as beginners, it can be really overwhelming trying to figure out how to do that. People talk about it like it's really easy, but we don't know what we're doing. So it's really hard to do. And so what I want to do is show you how to do it on the Seestar app. So you need to log on to the Seestar app and you need to connect to your Seestar. Now, keep in mind that this is after you have saved some exposures, and you want to be sure that you're changing the setting in the advanced features so that it is saving the 10-second exposures. And so it is saved. We're assuming in this video that you have saved some exposures to your Seestar, and now you're trying to figure out how to get them either off of the Seestar or into some kind of format you can stack. And so the Seestar app has a feature in there called Deep Sky Stack, and that's what we're going to look at. You do have to be connected to your Seestar, and you see I connected while we were chatting. You could do all the stuff you need to do. If you go into the advanced features, that's where you would change that saving each frame right there. So if you don't have the subs folder that I'm going to show you about, you need to go in and check that box so that it's saving every 10-second exposure. All right, so we're back at the home screen of our Seestar app. And what we want to do, I want to do a little bit of background. So I want you to click on the My Album, and it's going to bring up some pictures of things that are stored on my Seestar. And these are the pictures that I took yesterday and the day before. These that you're seeing here are the actual JPEGs that it saved. So if I click on those, you'll see the final stacked image, because what the Seestar does is every 10-second exposure it takes, it starts stacking it. And that's what you're seeing on the screen of your app while it's imaging, is that process of the Seestar stacking those images. And so that's what you're saving when you do the denoise and you export it, you're saving that stacked image. And so that's what you're seeing in there. But we don't want to do that. We want to collect the exposures and stack it ourselves. And because this is just stacked every image that it got that it was able to stack. And so click on in the center top, click on the Seestar, and then it takes just a second and it pops up all of these. You see there's a lot more folders in here. And this one tells us everything that's saved on the Seestar. So right at the top left, you see M53. And then the folder right next to it is M53 sub. So what the Seestar does is it saves those images in two separate folders. The M53 folder, it saves those JPEG images that it's already stacked or you have saved. You've exited, that little drop down arrow while you're imaging and it saves it. You've stopped the imaging to autofocus and it will save that image. That's where those images are, is in that M53 folder. The folder to the right that's M53 with an underscore and then sub, that's where it's saving every one of those 10-second exposures. So if you click on it, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of exposures in here. And, that's over that whole period of time that I did it. Every exposure that it was able to save, it has saved in the Seestar. And so what we want to do is we want to stack these. We're going to just do it in the Deep Sky Stack, but I wanted to show you where the folders are saved so you can know the difference. I'm going to go to one that I did a few days ago. It was just M31, which is the Andromeda Galaxy, and I did it in mosaic mode. And so you can see that the images are bouncing all over the place, that Andromeda Galaxy, because it's in mosaic mode. But the reason I wanted to show you this one is down here near the bottom, if I can find it, this image right here has a satellite across it. So that's one of the images that we want to remove when we're stacking our images in the deep sky stack, because if we don't, it's going to take multiple exposures stacking on top of this line to make it disappear. You know, every time you'd stack another file without that line, it would get a little bit dimmer, a little bit dimmer, a little bit dimmer until it eventually isn't showing. If you don't have enough dark exposures on top of that stacked line in the order that it's stacking them, you're going to see that line in your final image. And so we don't want to stack with bad exposures in the deep sky stack. And so that's where you could delete that image if you wanted to, or we can do it when we go into the deep sky stack. So now we've returned to the home screen of the Seestar app, and we're going to click on that deep sky stack. And it looks kind of blank here. Like, what do I do next? Well, down at the bottom, you can either view the tutorial or you can click add images. And I'm just going to click add images. Now, all it's bringing up in this view are those subs folder, because the deep sky stack only works with those 10-second exposures, and they're always saved in that subs folder. And so you can see that I have several subs folders here. I could go in and do the Andromeda Galaxy, but I want to do one that's a little shorter in time, just for convenience of making this video. I don't want it to be a super long video that you don't want to watch. So I'm going to just click on this. Let's see. Let's do the one at the top, the M53. So you just click on that, and again, you see all of those 10-second exposures. And here you can't click on them to view them like we did in the other folder. If I click on it, it just turns that circle red with a check mark. And that's telling it, I want you to include this when the Seestar app, when you're stacking. So that's what that red check mark means. So if you want to view the individual exposures, you'll want to do that in the My Album folder. But this is the M53 and all those exposures. Now I can scroll down through here and look for obvious anomalies that I don't want to include. Sometimes that could be light coming in. It could be a bad exposure with a satellite in it, or a car drove by and its headlights got into the lens when it was imaging a couple of the exposures. So you want to delete those. Um, but you just do a cursory glance. Up in the top right hand corner, you can click all, and that's going to select every one of those exposures. And then you can go down and remove one if you don't want to include that one. Selecting all is probably the most efficient way, because it's going to select them all, and you're going to have a few that you may remove, but it's easier to remove a few than to add a ton. And so I always click that all up in the top right hand corner. I do a cursory look down through here to see if I see any satellites or anomalies, and I didn't see any in this one. And that's why I used that M31 one as an example to show you what a satellite would look like. So this one, it's looking pretty good. And so this one, I can add all exposures to this stacking. And then down at the bottom, I'm just going to click OK. And now it brings it back to this screen where I can either add more images if I have some saved somewhere else, or I can just click the stack, and it's going to stack 461 exposures. Well, this is, let's see. Oh, it's telling me that the stacking is failing because I don't have enough storage space on my Seestar. And so I'm going to have to go and remove some, and then we'll come back and start again. Okay, I'm back. I removed some off of the Seestar. I didn't delete those files, I just transferred them to my computer. And so when we go into the Deep Sky stack now, all I will see is that M53 subs folder, because that's the only subs folder I left on the Seestar. The rest are on the computer. I do have a video that shows you how to do that. I'll try and remember, put a link here for that in case you don't know how to do that. So we're going to go back into that M53, select all, click OK at the bottom because we didn't have any in here we were going to exclude. And now we're going to have it stacked, those 461. And you see at the bottom, it's telling me it's going to take 23, 22 minutes to stack all of those images. And so I'm going to put you on pause and I'll come back when it's finished, just so you don't have to sit here with a blank screen clicking off numbers for 25 minutes. I'll be back. Okay, I brought you back. I didn't wait for it to get quite to 100% because the anticipation is building and I want you to join in the fun. But we have 94% is stacked. It's got about a minute, little over a minute remaining. What we can do with these images is once we get them stacked is we'll be able to export them, save them to your phone or your device, or you could um, save them to your computer, and then you can work on them further in other post-processing kind of software. You can email them to yourself. You can um, do nothing with them. You can post them to YouTube for people to criticize. I mean, enjoy. Okay, I'm just kidding. But it looks like we have about a minute left, and this one it didn't have a whole bunch to stack, but like if I'd have stacked that Andromeda Galaxy one, it had probably triple the amount of exposures to stack, and it can take a long period of time. And so you don't really want to, you want to be somewhere you can plug in your device or something, let it run. You don't want, it's not a click and it happens kind of situation. So you want to be sure that you are realistic in the time it's going to take to do the stacking, because what it's doing is it's lining up the stars, it's stretching them so that they fit together, and then it plops that exposure down on top of the last one. Then it opens the next one and it says, okay, what stars do I recognize? And then it stretches them and moves them around, rotates them a little if it needs to get them to fit into the space of the exposure below it, and then it plops that one down on top of it. And so it can take a long time. It's a very sophisticated process that goes on. And so it's not something that's going to happen in 30 seconds. If it happens in 30 seconds, you don't have very many exposures, and so it's not going to probably be a fabulous picture. All right, we're getting down to, okay, 100% stacking successful. It stacked 461 and it didn't discard any. So we had good exposures in there. And then it saved that stacked file to the M53 folder as a JPEG. And then I click check now, and there's what we see. It's a star cluster. It's a globular cluster. And you can see some of the field rotation down in the right-hand corners. Just as a side note, EQ mode is gearing up to be coming out, so that could solve that problem. You can hit that little denoise thing up in the top right-hand corner. There's not a ton of data in this one, and so it's not going to take too long to denoise it. But if you have a whole bunch of stacked exposures and it takes a long time to stack them, you could create a file that takes longer than the 15 seconds to denoise. And if I zoom in, you can see that's a pretty one. I like those star clusters. And then up in the top, you can hit that COMP. That's the comparison between denoising and not. Can you see it flashing there? I'm not sure if it'll come across on the screen or not. And then up in the top right-hand corner, that square with the arrow, you can hit that and export. And then it lets me save that image to my phone. And so that's how you stack in the Deep Sky Stack in the Seestar app. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy it and get something out of it, give a thumbs up. subscribe to the channel. We're all just newbies trying to figure it out together. So come along on the journey. Thanks for watching and wishing clear skies to everybody.